Hey guys, welcome to Arknights Endfield. If you haven't heard of this game, it's like the original Arknights, except it's not like Arknights at all because it's like 3D and stuff. Also, there's factory building, which is what this video is about. Now you could just copy blueprints from other people to get a super optimal late game factory, but that's boring and cringe. Instead, I'm going to show you how to set up your own factory and give you the knowledge and techniques to produce whatever you want. Let's get started. First, let's decide on an item to produce. The most important items are batteries, which generate power for your factory, and healing items, which let your operators heal during combat. Both of these can also be sold to outposts for stock bills. For this video, let's make a factory for Buck Capsule B, the middle tier healing item for the Valley 4 region. Open the database and go to Item Files. Go to the Usable Items section to find Buck Capsules, or just use the search bar. Click on View Details, and we can see the formula on the right. Click this button here to pin it. Now if we go back, the formula stays pinned in the top right of the screen. To set up a factory for these, or for any other item in the game, we start with the finished product and work backwards. For Buck Capsule B, we need a filling unit for the last step in the production line. The filling unit needs two items, the first one being Farium bottles. If we click on it, we can click Formula to step backwards into the recipe for those. It says we need a molding unit, so let's place one down and connect it with a belt. The molding unit needs Farium, and if we step backwards again, we need to use a refining unit. This needs Farium ore, which doesn't have any formulas. This is because it's a raw material that we get directly from mining. So to finish, we can connect the refining unit to a PAC output port, or use a depot unloader. I'll use a depot unloader here to keep things tidy. Now we can step forward again by clicking this arrow until we're back to the filling unit. We're not done yet because it needs a second item, buck flower powder, so let's step into that formula. For these, we need a shredding unit. The shredding unit needs buckflowers, which are made from buckflower seeds. Buckflower seeds are made from buckflowers, which require buckflower seeds. We get buckflower seeds from buckflowers, and those are obtained with buckflower seeds. Those are gained through buckflowers. If you've done the tutorial for planting units and seed picking units, you already know how this works. But in case you haven't, here's how to generate infinite plants. A seed picking unit turns one plant into two seeds. And we can use two planting units to turn them into two plants. Then we can send them back to the seed picking unit and we get an infinite loop of more and more plants. Once we have enough plants to make a constant stream, we can reroute one of the planting units into our shredding unit to give it a constant supply of buckflowers. Now we've set up a sub-factory for both items that the filling unit needs for Buck Capsule B. Let's just power everything up and set the depot unloader to output Farium ore. And we're done. The filling unit is now producing Buck Capsule B automatically. We can send this to the depot by connecting the filling unit to the PAC, or by using a protocol stash to teleport them there. So, to recap, start at the last step in the production chain, which is the filling unit. This needs two items. For Farium bottles, we need a molding unit, which needs a refining unit, which needs raw Farium ore from the depot. For buckflower powder, we need a shredding unit, which needs buckflowers. These come from an infinite loop of a seed picking unit and two planting units. Power everything up with pylons, and we can send the final output to the PAC or a protocol stash. Now you've probably noticed that while our factory works, it doesn't work well. The planting and shredding units keep clogging up, and the molding and filling units are sitting idle most of the time. On average, we're only producing 1.5 buck capsules per minute. This might be enough to use them as healing items, but we want to sell them to outposts and get rich. So let's start from scratch and make it better. Just like before, we start with a filling unit. But this time, pay attention to how long the formula takes and how many items it needs. We want each facility to work constantly, but without clogging up, so you need to input items at the exact rate that they're consumed. Let's start with the buckflower powder this time. The filling unit needs 10 of these every 10 seconds, or 1 per second. Stepping back into the formula, the shredding unit produces 2 buckflower powder every 2 seconds, which is also 1 per second. So we only need 1 of these. But if we connect a belt between them, the shredding unit will eventually start to clog up. This is because belts can only move 0.5 items per second, or 1 item every 2 seconds. Since the shredding unit produces 2 items every 2 seconds, we need 2 belts to move them to the filling unit. Now let's step back again. The shredding unit needs 1 buckflower every 2 seconds, which is just 1 belt. We can just set up the same infinite plant loop like last time, which produces exactly that much. I think it's useful to look at item rates in terms of items per 2 seconds, because a single belt moves 1 item every 2 seconds. So here, the shredding unit makes 2 buckflower powder per 2 seconds, so it needs 2 output belts. But it only consumes 1 buckflower per 2 seconds, so it only needs 1 input belt for those. For the infinite plant loop, notice how each planting unit produces 1 buckflower per 2 seconds, so they each have 1 output belt. The seed picking unit makes 2 seeds per 2 seconds, so it needs 2 output belts. In the end, we get a belt of 1 buckflower per 2 seconds, which is what our shredding unit needs. Now we're done with the buckflower powder, so let's click over to the other part of the formula. We also need 2 ferrium bottles per 2 seconds. Step back into the formula and we need molding units to produce them. Each one only makes 1 bottle per 2 seconds, so we need twice as many molding units as filling units. Each molding unit needs 2 ferrium per 2 seconds. Step back again, and the refining unit produces 1 ferrium per 2 seconds, so you need 2 refining units for each molding unit. And now we've reached the start again with raw ferrium ore. Each refining unit needs 1 ferrium ore per 2 seconds, which is just 1 belt each from depot unloaders. Power everything up, and it all starts working. But this time, notice how all the belts are completely full, and none of the facilities are getting clogged. We're now producing 6 buck capsule B per minute, or 1 every 10 seconds, which means our filling unit is operating at maximum efficiency. This technique works for literally every formula in the game. Higher tier items might look really complicated, but with these basic steps, you can set up a fully efficient production line for any item you want. Just start from the finished item and look at production rates as you work backwards into the formula. Before I end this video, I wanted to look at this idea of modular factory lines and why they suck. This is the idea that you should have individual smaller lines that produce an item and send it right back to the depot. Modular setups don't work because we only have a limited amount of inputs in every AIC area or outpost, and each intermediate step in the production chain takes up more space on the depot bus. For example, producing 1 belt of ferrium bottles needs 7 depot loaders and unloaders, versus our setup from earlier that only needs 4 unloaders to make twice as many bottles. In fact, if we try to make a fully modular factory for Buck Capsule B, it'll take up the entire depot bus, plus all 6 ports on the PAC, and we'd still need 2 more for the filling unit. So we end up with all this space on the bottom right that we can't use, and a factory that's only half as fast as before. And this is just for a mid-tier item. Endgame stuff like Buck Capsule A and HC Valley batteries are just impossible to make with this modular idea. Instead, our strategy from earlier does the exact opposite, where we make a chain of facilities that all feed into the next step of the formula. The only inputs are raw minerals and plants, and the only thing going back to the depot is the finished product. This uses way less space on the depot bus, so basically every late game factory does this. So to recap, start from the last step in the production chain and pin the formula to the top right. Click on the ingredients to step backwards all the way to the start as you chain facilities together into a factory. And to make it efficient, look at the production rates of each facility and supply it with just enough input items to work constantly without clogging up. With this step-by-step process, you can make a fully efficient factory for anything in the game. And personally, I think this is much more fun than googling other people's blueprints and just pasting them in. But if you really just want to copy blueprints, I've got you covered too. And to those who skipped all the way to the end for these, welcome to the video. Here are my fully efficient 100% legitimate blueprints for Endgame Valley 4. The first 4 go in the main AIC area, and the last one goes in each of the outposts. The codes for these blueprints are in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Assuming I make more Endfield videos in the future.